Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Bex here today to film one of my favorite videos that I get to do every year, and that is the 10 books that I really want to read in the coming year. So, 10 books I really want to read in 2022. The parameters for this video is that all of the books have to be from my TBR shelf. I already have to own them. It's a way to make me excited about what I have on my shelves and to get me to actually read everything that I have here. So let's get started. The first book is very well known, and that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I am not usually a fantasy person. However, I did read the prologue and chapter 1 of this book during a try a chapter unhaul video. I wanted to see if this was going to be the kind of thing that I was going to be in the mood for, and I found myself really enjoying it. I think part of that is because I was getting the memories of reading all of the A Song of Ice and Fire series, at least the books that exist so far. I read them all in these mass market paperback editions back in the day, and because this is also a fantasy book in that mass market paperback setup, I was being reminded of like the fun that I had reading those books when I was picking this up. This one, still not totally sure what it's about even now, other than the very basic premise of that it's a story within a story, and it's a man telling his life story to a person or multiple people. I didn't get to that part in the book when I was reading that first little bit, but I'm excited for this, and it was really nice because that was the whole point of the try a chapter unhaul video, was to see what I really wasn't in the mood for, what I was, and so this has now ended up on this list because of that. We're going from a really big book to a really small one, and that is Cleopatra VII, Daughter of the Nile. This is one of the Royal Diaries books. These are a middle grade series that I read a bunch when I was younger, and I found this one in a Goodwill and decent condition, really good condition considering how old these books are. I picked up Elizabeth I, which is another book from the same series, read it this year, and had a really fun time rereading it. Kind of reminded me of the joy that I got from kind of getting those little bits of history when I was younger, and so I'm hoping I'll have the same feelings reading this. They're just really nicely put together, like the end papers match, you know, the cover of the book. They've got the gold pages, so just really nice. I'm hoping to have a good experience with this one. These books follow particular royal like women when they're younger, kind of in that middle grade age range from like 10 to 12-ish, so I imagine that's about how old Cleopatra will be in this book. So it's very easy to read, the font's big, but they're just a lot of fun. The third book is my first nonfiction on this list, and I would say that it's the book that I most want to read in 2022. When I was making this list, this was the first one that I knew was going to be on here, and that is Hood Feminism: Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mikki Kendall. This is looking at the modern day feminist movement and how so much of it is focused on middle class and rich white women, and it's really forgetting the rest of the women in society. And this book argues about how things like food security, education for all, access to medical care, how all of those things are feminist issues. I hope to learn a lot from this book. I've heard really good things, so most excited to read this one in 2022. Fourth, I have a very pink book, and this is Eleanor Rigby by Douglas Coupland. If you're curious, this is the Vintage Anchor Emblem Canada edition. This is the style that they do it in, where it's just this really bold color. You have the actual book title in really small font, and then the author's is the more noticeable thing when you're seeing these kind of laid out on the table. So I was drawn to the really bright pink, and I'm also drawn to it because I have read other Douglas Coupland books, and I enjoyed some of them and sort of thought some of them were okay. I feel like as of late I've mostly grown out of his writing style, but I want to give him one more try with this one. It's not a long book, so if it doesn't really suit me, that's okay, but I still want to read this story because it follows a woman who is very lonely. She doesn't have an exciting life. She has a boring job. She lives alone in her condo. And one day she witnesses the passing of the Hale-Bopp comet, and then all of a sudden this man stumbles into her life, and he has a medical alert bracelet with her name and number on it. So a little quirky sounding, but from what I'm getting from the back of this book, it sounds like it's a very heartwarming, fun story, and I think we could all use a little bit of that in our lives these days. Next is The House at Riverton by Kate Morton. I have read The Forgotten Garden and The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. I loved Forgotten Garden. Distant Hours was okay, but I'm hoping I will love this one as well. This is historical fiction, and it's got that classic Kate Morton setup where you have the current day timeline and then you also have some timeline in the past, and they're all connected. This one is about a woman named Grace who, when she was younger in the 1920s, she worked as a servant at Riverton House. She became very good friends with the daughters that lived in the house, and the three of them witnessed this very tragic event at a society party, and they've kept this secret all these years. Fast forward to the present day timeline, and this young director has approached Grace because he's trying to dig into the mystery of what exactly happened at this society party all those years ago. He's going to bring her back to Riverton House, and it sounds like all those secrets are going to come out. Kate Morton always has interesting stories. I'm just hoping that this is a bit more like The Forgotten Garden and a little bit less like The Distant Hours. Another nonfiction on this list is Dopesick, Dealers, Doctors, and the Drug Company That Addicted America by Beth Macy. Beth is an investigative journalist, and within this book she talks with those who are addicted to opioids, their family members, first responders who are often saving people from drug overdoses, and talks about how the opioid epidemic came to be. I'm interested in this book not only because the topic is very relevant, but because the TV show was recently released, so I want to read the book, watch the TV show, and then potentially do like a book to series video comparison. So we'll see. This next book is also nonfiction with a grayish cover, and that is Better by Atul Gawande. This is medical nonfiction, which is a specific subgenre that I've realized I'm really into, and this one looks at the idea of performance and being better. Atul Gawande is a surgeon, and so he's talking about that in relation to the medical field and how being better and learning from your mistakes often can mean the difference between life and death for a patient. I read the first chapter-ish of this book, and I was already getting into the cases that he was talking about, so I think I'll really get sucked into this one. I then have Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. This one has been getting a fair amount of buzz on BookTube lately, but it's been kind of mixed. This is about a family that goes on vacation to like an Airbnb style home outside of New York City, and while they're there, the power goes out, the cell service is cut, and these two people show up at the house and say that they're the owners and they've escaped New York City and they've come to seek refuge in their vacation home. So we have that element of, are these people actually who they say they are? The characters can't find out what's actually going on. And then once these two people come into the house, there's these dynamics with race and class. I've heard that the ending is not so satisfying, but I still want to know what happens. My penultimate choice for this list is The Library Book by Susan Orlean. It's a gorgeous edition. That spine looks amazing on my TBR shelf. This is basically a love letter to libraries. It starts with discussing the massive fire that happened in the Los Angeles Public Library in 1986. Kind of looks into the mystery of that while also talking about the history of libraries, people who are important to their development. This is a book that Les picked out for me for round 2 of the Shelf Sisters series. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll link the video so you can go check it out. So she wants me to read this book. I already really wanted to read it in 2022, so it had to be on this list. The final book on this list is California by Eden Lepucki. This has a gorgeous cover as well. If you flip it, Love it. Love looking at this one on my TBR shelf as well. This is actually a post-apocalyptic book. We are following two characters who've escaped Los Angeles. They're living together in this shack in the woods, and then one of the characters gets pregnant, and they're very scared about what that's going to mean this day and age when there's no medical help. So they decide to seek out this community, this settlement near them, and of course when they get there, things are not quite as they seem. There's some dark secrets, a lot of stuff going on. It's post-apocalyptic. What else would you expect? I'm just really in the mood to read, not experience, but read some post-apocalyptic literature. So that's why this one's on this list. Those are the 10 books that I would really like to read in 2022. If you have read any of them, please let me know what you thought of them in the comments below. As always, all of our links are in the down bar. You can go check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.